we have always maintained that if the border is stable, predictable, free of incidents, then there is a natural improvement in the rest of the relationship. So the border has been stable for some time now, and as the disengagement was completed, naturally it was logical that there would be an improvement in other areas. So I don't want you to overdraw, it's not like there's some great U-turn and now everything is great. I don't want you to go the other way around also, that the relationship is only full of problems and everything in it is negative. Now, take China. What is actually on the agenda with China? We have problems which go back to the 1950s, which is, for example, the boundary question. Okay. So, because other things happen, that has not gone away. In fact, that is very much still at the center stage, and it is in fact the maintenance of the peace and tranquility in the border areas that is a prerequisite for development of the relationship. So you have I would say 50s, 60s, 70s, almost I would say 60 years, 70 years of 80 years now of that problem. Then we have an issue which started in the early 2000s after China entered the WTO, which is the beginning of a trade deficit, and it rapidly became a concern. It didn't become a concern in 2025 or 24 or after 2014. I was ambassador in China from 2009 to 13, and I can tell you the growing trade deficit was an increasing concern for us. Okay. So you have a historical problem, then you have a problem which started maybe about 20, 25 years ago. Then we had some issues which came out of COVID. Okay. Say, for example, the stoppage of air flights, direct air flights, was an outcome of the COVID period. Even the halt to the Kailash Mansarovar Yatra, which is now resumed, also happened because of COVID. Then we had the Galwan clash and that very difficult period after that. And then there were steps. Oh, by the way, even during COVID, for example, some of the precautions which we took generally with regard to investments, please remember, was actually immediate post-COVID. They were in response to the economic uncertainties of the COVID.
You mean to say press note reason?
No. I think, even some of the investment issues which took place then. Because I think there was worry after COVID about takeover of companies when the valuations were dropping. Okay. So then you had the Galwan clash and that period, and then there were a set of issues which came out of it. So and then I must add to you, there are some issues which are of very recent origin. For example, the magnets for the auto industry. That is an outcome of a Chinese export control policy, which is a few months old. So it's not like there is one problem or one cluster of problems with a certain timeline. It is something, different problems have different histories, you could say, and were at different levels of processing. Now, look at the solution side. Again, you brought up Sindoor, you referred to the fact that now, given what is happening in the current state in the world, I would actually point out to the fact that much of what is happening now, or what was agreed to when Minister Wang Yi was here, was actually decided last October when President Xi and Prime Minister met in Kazan. Some of it was followed up in November last year when Wang Yi and I met in Brazil, I think. So, look, it's not what I want you to understand is it's not black and white. It's not something has happened with America, so therefore immediately something has happened with China. I mean, if you are looking at the kind of things we announced now, air flights was not decided now. I mean, we are just operationalizing something we wanted to work on.
So there are parallel timelines which you can say
There
to
are,
each.
there are different timelines of different lengths on different problems.
And you're okay with segmenting it like
I
that?
think it would be a mistaken analysis to try and crunch everything and make it into a integrated response to a very specific situation. That's what, so there may be, today, yes, of course, there is a global landscape. I'm not impervious to it. But I'm telling you that many of the things, I mean, for example, boundary, this is the 24th or 25th round of talks between the SRs. Now, what they decided on boundary has been actually a subject of conversation for multiple rounds, some of them for 15 years. So they are not necessarily new concepts which were decided now because something is happening on some other account. So I want you to understand there is an evolution, there's a flow of that relationship. There are other relationships, but don't make this connect so tight and make it a causality. That's not the reality.
I think the idea is there a newfound political comfort with China which can lead to certain predictability on the economic side, particularly on the business side?
Okay, let me put it to you very simply. We have always maintained that if the border is stable, predictable, free of incidents, then there is a natural improvement in the rest of the relationship. So the border has been stable for some time now. And as the disengagement was completed, naturally it was logical that there would be an improvement in other areas. So I don't want you to overdraw, it's not like there's some great U-turn and now everything is great. I don't want you to go the other way around also, that the relationship is only full of problems and everything in it is negative. I think there is a sort of a ground somewhere in between. We do trade, there are things which are important for us. Again, if you look at the interests of the farmers of the country, I think a predictable flow of fertilizers is important. I think when you look at people in the infrastructure field, for them getting machinery out of China is important. For our auto industry, having uninterrupted flow of magnets is important. I think these are legitimate issues of our industry. We should take it up with China. And we should, if there are blockages, I think we owe it to the businesses and to the workers of India that we should address those issues.
The issue which we've been debating over the last 2 years is dependencies and supply chains. So the advice which has been in the current geopolitical environment, it is the unpredictability around supply chains, around building dependencies which then can lead to sudden shocks across industries. What's the geopolitical mantra for supply chains as we move ahead?
I think recent experience has taught us that don't be excessively dependent on a single supply chain or a single country source. Recent experience has also taught us don't be dependent on a single market. Okay? So it isn't just from the sourcing to the production, it is also from the production to the market. Now, that doesn't mean you switch off from somewhere, it means you diversify, it means you hedge, and most important, which is the continuous messaging from the government, it means you do more at home. Now, we know more at home is hard work, it is complicated, it requires a different kind of effort, even particularly from business. That is why the emphasis on Atmanirbharta. So, looking at the geopolitics of our current end, I would really sort of analyze or prescribe. I've got problems at both ends. I've got a problem on the sourcing and the supply chain. I've got a problem post-production in the markets. So both are volatile. Both hold their own complications. And the best way of dealing with both is to de-risk it by having multiple options of supply chains coming into India, multiple options of production going out of India, but most important in India, which has a greater ability to plug as many parts of the supply chain, and nobody can do it perfectly, I accept that, as possible.